Thank you for taking the time out to attend this masterclass. My name is Nalin Mojaria, and I am a psychologist by profession, working as a parenting coach. This is not a webinar. It's a masterclass on parenting skills. It is totally different because you are going to walk away with insights on how to work with your children to transform their challenging behavior while forming a great bond with them, helping them develop responsibility, express their independence, and make decisions using family values. Empower them to build their personal skills to excel in education and become an A+ student. Identify and unleash their talents and become leader in their own field. Putting it differently, this is the moment where I share with you the parenting strategy on how to stop your communication, push your children away. This is called the leaky bucket syndrome. Help your children grow by supporting them to operate in the challenging zone to handle their life challenges. Use the gardener perspective to support your children grow and develop, and use child psychology to help your children transform their challenging behavior and many more skills. The masterclass will run for 90 minutes, where 70 minutes will be the presentation and 20 minutes will be available for question and answer session. In order to make it easy to follow, I have sent you a one-page parenting journey map on your WhatsApp. Get it in front of you so that you have a view of how to develop and empower your children. The journey is made up of 3 parts. How to connect with your children to help the child to stabilize internally so they can handle their challenging behavior, disruptive behavior habits such as screen time or lying or not do their homework. How to become the compass to help your child build their age-linked responsibility, independence, and family-based decision-making. And finally, how you can help your child become competent to enable the child become an A+ student, unleash their talents, and become an emerging leader in their own field. When I work directly with parents, I make their journey easy by giving them worksheets that help them to work step by step to address the key areas of their parenting. Some of you may be asking, is this for you? This is for you if you are a parent of a child who has challenging behavior and it's worrying you, or a teenager who is going through his or her roller coaster ride of behavior issues and you are worried, or if you are a parent of a child or a teen who has got a diagnosed condition such as autism or ADHD or a learning difficulty. For those of you who do not know me, let me introduce myself. My name is Nalin Mojaria. I am a psychologist by profession and a parenting coach. I started developing my parenting coaching skills in 1987 when a foster parenting organization asked me to develop a short course for them on how to settle children from difficult families with challenging behavior in their family. I did my research and developed a course for them called Get a New Child by Saturday. This course was designed to support foster parents change the attitude, behavior, and character of children from difficult backgrounds to settle in new families. This course was a brilliant success in supporting the parents, so they asked me to run another course based on how to settle teens from difficult families in foster care. So I did my research again and created a course called How to Have a New Teenager by Saturday. This course focused on how to settle teens who are mouthy and moody and help them become respectful and responsible. This also worked well for the parents. However, The foster carers wanted more in areas of how to help children aged 0 to 18 become responsible and independent, using family as a resource. To build these parenting skills, I devised a course called Get a Happy Family in 21 Days. This also worked well for parents. This was received well as a course, but they wanted more. They wanted skills of how to support their children become an A+ student and release their talent. So I created a course for students so they can get an A+ grade using their study skills. The course concentrated on how you unlock the A+ potential by using right brain techniques and how to succeed in exams while enjoying them. This was another success. Now, although the courses were working well by themselves, the parents kept on asking me to simplify everything, especially the practical part of implementation, and come up with a course that captures the essence of parenting, that supports growth of their child throughout their parenting journey. So I sat down for days and came up with the Empowering Parenting course, which is what we're going to be talking about today. The course built on parenting strategies of how to stop your leaky bucket of relationship communication that pushes your children away, help your children grow by supporting them to operate in the face zone to handle life challenges. And I'll go into this in a lot more detail. Use the gardener perspective to support your children grow and develop, and use child psychology to help your children transform their challenging behavior. When parents attended this course, they felt that they had the skills to operate in the top 1% of successful parents. And you can see the kind of feedback they gave me. Every parent must attend. Good course. An eye-opening course. Let's take a deep dive into this parenting journey. As parents, we want the best for our child. If you break this down further, what we want is, we want better outcomes than how we ourselves are doing. We want them to have a better house, better health, better education, and better opportunities. We want our children to be pulling their own strings, which in practice means that they are independent, they are happy, successful, and resilient. And we know that effective parenting can help them achieve these things. How many of you agree with this? Put A in your chat box if you agree with this. We know that when parenting is not working well, you start getting indicators from the child's life. An example of this would be your child is excluded to play with other children because they are seen as aggressive. Your child has a tantrum every time you visit a supermarket. Your daughter brings home a really bad report card. You get a call that your teen has been arrested for underage drinking. Your 11-year-old son announces, "I hate school and I'm never going back." Your son refuses to get off the couch and help with chores. Your kids bicker and argue every evening at the dinner table. Your son pitches a major fit when his screen time is over. Your son with autism has been expelled from school for poor behavior. The bus driver of your child with learning difficulties refuses to take your child on the bus because your child is out of control. When you see things like this, you know your parenting is not working. But it's not your fault, because kids don't come with a manual. This happens because you don't know what to do about how to turn all these behaviors around. How many of you want to turn this around? Please type yes in your chat box if you want to turn things like this around. So how do we turn this around? The answer is pretty straightforward based on my research and the experience I've had with working with parents. The 7 things that we need to do is, number 1, stop the leak in the leaky bucket of relationship. In other words, if you consider your relationship with your child as a bucket full of water, then if there is a leak in it, in other words, if the relationship is not working well, then you need to stop that leak. The second thing we need to do is we need to support our child to operate in the face zone. And I'll go into this in a lot more detail. The third thing is, when you are working with your child, you need to start nurturing the child as if they were a plant. And this is the parenting perspective that will actually help your child. And I'll go into this in a lot more detail. The fourth thing you need to do is you need to use child psychology to support children change their behavior. The fifth thing is use your family as the key to helping your child get education success. The sixth thing is that the world is changing. It's becoming a lot more service-orientated, and you can help your child become service-orientated themselves. And the last thing, number 7, is help your child develop family values to make decisions in their life. And this will keep them on a safe track. So let's start with the first thing. Stop the leaky bucket. What is a leaky bucket relationship? We as parents make 5 mistakes in parenting our children, which push them away, and that stops them listening to us. The mistakes are, number 1, we blame children for behavior that they can't help. So a simple example of this is that if your child is having breakfast and some milk spills, you end up shouting at the staff. A lot of parents will blame the child and say, why did you spill the milk? Or if the child is being noisy in a public place, or if the child is snatching a toy, we blame the child. We think the child is selfish. We think the child is aggressive. And we say, just stop that. The key thing is, children cannot stop this kind of behavior because up to the age of 10, they do not have self-control. If they like a toy, they will want to snatch it. If they are bored in a public place, they will become a bit noisy. So children can't help these things, but we as parents assume that they can, and we start blaming them for their behavior. So that is number 1. Stop blaming the child for the behavior that they can't stop. The second thing is, a lot of parents do multi-directional parenting. So let me explain this using an example. Let's say a child wants to eat ice cream, and the mom says, don't eat ice cream because they will produce cavities in your teeth. But the dad says, oh, let him have the ice cream, because think about it. When we were young, we didn't have enough money to have ice cream. And now that we are rich enough, why are we stopping our children from having an ice cream? So the mom says no, and the dad says yes. This ends up confusing the child. So that's the second mistake. The third mistake that parents make is they either bribe the child or they punish the child over small things. So a simple example of this would be the parent could easily say, if you do this for me, I'll buy you a bicycle. And once the child gets used to doing things for a materialistic reward, it actually stops their motivation from working well. The child loses motivation. Every time you want them to do something, they will expect a reward. So for example, if you say to them, can you please help me clean the car? They would say, what's in it for me? Or if the child is running around in a restaurant, or the child feels upset, then if you bribe the child, then the child will think, every time I behave like this, I'll get something good out of this. Alternatively, if a child is acting out in a certain way, and if you punish them by saying, Martin, what is wrong with you? Your sister doesn't do this. Can't you stop doing it? Or alternatively, you say, Martin, go into the naughty corner and sit there for 10 minutes. Do you think while Martin is sitting in the naughty corner, he's thinking, oh, my mom is a very good teacher. She's taught me a very good lesson today. From tomorrow, I will not play up. Or they are sitting there thinking, I hate my mom for doing what she's just done, asking me to sit here because I wasn't doing anything wrong. Chances are they are thinking, I hate my mom. The fourth thing is parents fighting in front of the child. So if as a couple, you're fighting in front of your own child about who is going to be looking after the children, or how much money you will spend on certain things, or why did you buy this expensive stuff as opposed to the cheaper stuff that's available and so on. The child doesn't fully understand what's going on. So they start feeling upset and they think you are fighting because of them. And they start feeling guilty, and this begins to damage them over a long period of time. The last thing is parents are correcting the child before connecting with them. So a simple example of this is that let's imagine your child is playing cricket or they're playing tennis, and you as a parent have gone there to watch the match. When the match finishes, even before you get in the car, you start advising your child to do this or do that in order to improve their game. And you carry on giving them some kind of lecture in the car about how to improve the game. What this does is it makes the child feel, I can't get it right. Whatever I do, I never meet my parents' standards. So they start feeling inferior. So if you are doing any one of these 5 things, then you are beginning to push your child away from you because they feel that if they talk to you or if they expose themselves to you, then you are going to be down on them. So let me ask you, how many of you actually do one of these 5 things to your children? Type in the number in the chat box. If you do any one of the 5 things, you can type 3 or 4 or 5, whatever the number is in your chat box. Let's go to the next area. Support your child operate in the face zone. And this is the diagram that I want to actually explain to you. A lot of parents tell me that the thing that worries them a lot is their children's challenging behavior. And when I say to them, give me examples of this, the kind of things they talk about is that it worries them when the children start talking back, or they want to eat a lot of junk food. Children end up doing comparison, or you are doing more for my sister than for me. They don't like doing homework. They like designer stuff, which is quite expensive. And sometimes you may not even feel it's worth the value. They don't like studying. They spend too much time on TV or computer games. They lack self-discipline, laziness, lack of self-respect for others, anger, lack of confidence, exam phobia, not listening, and I can carry on like this. How many of you have this type of experiences and you are worried by this? Put your comment in the chat box. So let's go into this in a lot more detail. Let's look at what parents do when they see some of this behavior. So let's imagine Martin is watching too much TV. So initially what the parents do is they politely tell the child to stop watching too much TV. So they might easily say, Martin, stop watching TV because it will spoil your eyes. But for Martin, because they can watch the TV, they don't understand what you're actually saying. So they carry on watching TV. After a little while, when you come back and you see Martin is still watching TV, as a parent, a lot of parents raise their voice. They'll say something like, Martin, I told you to stop seeing TV. What's going on? And Martin might stop for a little while, but as soon as you're out of sight, they carry on and come back and start watching TV. So when they see this, they will start punishing the child. They might punish the child emotionally, or they will punish the child physically. So for example, emotionally, they can say, Martin, what's wrong with you? Your sister doesn't do things like this, and look at how well she's doing in her school. Or alternatively, they'll say to Martin, go to the naughty corner and stay there for 10 minutes. And as I mentioned before, when Martin is sitting and seething in the corner, he's not thinking, oh, my dad is teaching me a good lesson and I will never do this again. They are thinking, I hate my dad. What do you think happens when a parent starts criticizing or shouting at the child or punishing the child? What is going on in the child's brain? Research actually shows that when a parent behaves like this, either through criticism or by shouting and so on, it puts the child's brain under stress. And when a child's brain is under stress, it does one of these three things. It either wants to move away from the parent, so we call that the flight reaction. And the way they might do this is that they will start watching too much TV, engage with their mobile, play screen games, start smoking, drinking, using drugs, start having active contact with their friends. And all of these things helps them move away from the parent. And we call this the flight reaction. Some children actually end up talking back. So that is the fight reaction, which is there. In the fight reaction, the child will start talking back, show you anger, back answer, break things, tease siblings, and bully other weaker children. They might even start hitting someone. There is a small proportion of children who actually, instead of either wanting to get away from you or fight back, end up in a withdrawal reaction. This is a very small proportion of children. And when they go into this withdrawal mode because they're trying to avoid getting criticized or being shouted at or being punished, they go into their own room, they go inside themselves, and they start looking for comfort through these kind of mechanisms. So one of the things they do is they stay in their room, they start worrying a lot, they start blaming themselves for what is going on, and it makes them feel guilty, makes a lot of digital friends, and lives in a life of friendship bubble. So when that happens, again, it's not helping the child. If you want to help them, then you need to respond in a way which helps them grow and learn and transform their behavior. This is what we call the face zone. Let me explain how you can do this using a story. A father came home and noticed that his daughter was coloring their bedsheet with dark colors. On noticing this, instead of telling her off, he used the strategy that we actually teach on this course. Yeah, it's a strategy of acknowledging. So he said, Sandy, that looks interesting. On hearing this, the daughter said, Dad, I'm trying to help Mom. I see that every 3 days she struggles to wash and change the sheets because they go a bit dirty. If I were to color these in a dark color, she doesn't need to wash them that often. And then she can relax and have fun in life. On hearing this, the dad realized his daughter's intention and said, let's ask mom how we can help her work less and enjoy life. When they had a family meeting to discuss how the mother can relax and have a good life, they decided that it may be useful to actually buy a new pair of sheets. And through discussion, they came to a very good solution. This way, by working in the face zone, in other words, helping Sandy understand that there are different ways of helping mom reduce stress and enjoy life. You don't have to damage property. Now, working in the face zone is critical to child development because it doesn't put them under stress and it actually helps them grow and develop. If you're able to do this on a continuous basis, what happens is your children automatically start taking responsibility and become responsible for their own life. How many of you would like to learn these skills? Please write down your answer in the chat box. A lot of people are writing me. That's good. Okay, let's go to the next area. Nurturing the child like a plant and using that as your parenting perspective. Let us look at this as a perspective that a parent can use to help the children. If we step back a little and watch a family from a height of about, let's say, 20 feet, you can see that parents are getting upset and telling children off for so many different things. Now, let us look at the situation from a different perspective, the perspective of growing a plant. When you grow a plant, do you find that while growing the plant, some weeds also start growing in the soil around the plant? Now, if you are a gardener, do you blame the plant for those weeds? The answer is no. Why not? Because as a gardener, you understand that weeds are part and parcel of growing a plant. In the same way, if you grow your child, you will notice that there is a lot of new behaviors that emerge in a child because it's interacting with its environment. These behaviors, like watching too much TV or watching too much social media or backtalking, etc., emerges as the child begins to explore and express themselves. So we as a parent need to see the behavior as weeds and learn to help our children handle their environment. Now, how many of you would like to use such a perspective in order to help work with your child and help them deal with their weeds, help them deal with their negative behavior? Put your answer in your chat box. So, for example, if you see a child wanting some toys or games, if you see your child wanting some beautiful designer clothes, if you see your child wanting to copy characters from the TV, if you see a child wanting to use drugs and alcohol, then you know that these are the kinds of behaviors that emerge because the child wants to experiment and function in this world. You as a parent can help them get on the right track. Now, type F in your chat box if you want your child to operate in the face zone. So far, we've discussed a number of areas, such as what you should stop doing and what you can start doing. So you can stop doing your 5 parenting mistakes and you can start doing things like helping your child to operate in the face zone. You can help your child by treating them as if they are separate from the behavior and helping them deal with the behavior. This leads us nicely into the area of child psychology. Now, child psychology is a method that we can use as a parent to help children learn about how to change toxic habits or difficult habits like screen time. You may find that, for example, your child is spending too much time on the screen, and this is the process that is undermining, let's say, their schoolwork. Or they have learned to lie, thinking that then they can get away, and then one day they get caught and lose their credibility. Spend too much time watching TV, playing internet games, and lose out on developing social skills and friends. They do not want to study. So these are the kind of behaviors which children develop as part and parcel of growing up. And we can help them work it through. Now, the method by which we can help them work it through is shown in the diagram here. That if you look at behavior, such as, say, for example, lying, this behavior continues because they lied once, and that helps them be saved. And as a result, now they feel safe and they keep on lying. Yeah? So the behavior is supported by beliefs that, I better not admit to what has happened. So, for example, if they've stolen their money, if, for example, they've stolen some money, then they will lie about it. And in the process, they feel, oh, I got saved. Now I feel safe. I can keep the money and keep on spending it. So this is the pattern that is going on. And as time goes on, it can become a nasty habit. Yeah. So if a child develops, let's go back. If a child develops the habit of lying or watching too much screen, then it can become a habit which is very, very difficult to break into. Now, what happens basically is that if you want to break into this habit and help the child develop new habits, you need to use child psychology. So let me give you an example of this. A good way to look at this is to look at a habit which is very, very entrenched, and how people can actually break into that habit and change it. Let's imagine you have a person who is smoking. So the behavior is smoking behavior. They have beliefs that my grandfather smoked all his life and nothing happened to him. And I am enjoying smoking as an experience. It gives me a bit of relaxation, and it gives me some way where I can actually find a break from the work. So they carry on smoking. Now, if one day they receive a phone call, so let's say I'm smoking and I receive a phone call from a friend of mine saying, Nalin, I am in the cancer ward and I wanted to talk to you because they've identified that I've got cancer and I've only got a few days to live. And before I die, I wanted to speak to you because we started smoking together, and I would like you to promise me that you will stop smoking because I want you to live long. I want you to enjoy your child growing up and have a good life. I don't want you to become sick like me. So now when you receive this phone call, automatically the emotion changes. Instead of thinking, I am enjoying smoking, you begin to think, oh my God, smoking is dangerous. And the idea that my grandfather smoked all his life and nothing happened to him also changes, because your friend who is only maybe 32 or 33 is now beginning to die. So you can say, well, oh, smoking actually damages you. Now, when this or any one of these arms is shaken, the behavior changes. It is then very easy for a person to give up smoking because they'll think, oh, smoking is very, very risky. So if you want to change your child's difficult behavior, then a good way is to look at what is the emotion fueling it and what is the behavior fueling it. So if you want to help your child change a very, very entrenched behavior like screen time, then you need to find a way of engaging the child through emotions and beliefs that actually undermine What is keeping it going? Now, let me ask you, how many of you want to learn child psychology so that you can help your children stop very, very hard and entrenched behavior? So behavior like lying, not wanting to study, watching too much TV and computer games, involved too much with their friends at the expense of studying. If you want to learn child psychology to help you out, type CP in your chat box. Thank you for that. Let us move into another area of child development, which actually matters a lot in this world. And this is called, the world is service-orientated. And I'll explain this using a story. On one occasion, Mr. Ford, the owner of Ford Motor Company, invited two highly qualified engineers who had applied for a job at his company for dinner. When the dinner was over, Mr. Ford said to one of the engineers, "Sir, it was great having you for the meal, but we will not be taking you on. I wish you the best of luck in your job search." With the other one, he said, "Let me shake your hand because I want to welcome you aboard, welcome you to join our Ford company." On observing this, applicant one, who had not been offered a job, said, "Sir, during the meal, we never discussed anything about engineering. It was just social chit-chat. And on the basis of that, how can you make a good decision about my ability?" Mr. Ford said, "I decided not to offer you the job for two reasons. I noticed that you put salt on your steak before you started eating it, while candidate two tasted the steak before he put salt on it. At Ford, we prefer people to test things out before they make changes. Secondly, throughout the dinner, you only paid attention to me and talked to me. You hardly noticed any of the serving staff and what they were doing for you. While candidate two noticed all the staff, thanked them when they provided the service, and smiled at them to indicate he was happy with the service. At Ford, we acknowledge everyone's contribution to getting the results we get, and we find this keeps the staff highly motivated. We feel the world is a better place when everyone is service-orientated. So those are my reasons." On hearing this, candidate one said, "Thank you for reminding me what my family always believes and does. I wish the successful candidate all the best." As a parent, how many of you want your children to have great manners and confidence? Please type M in your chat box. Thank you for that. This helps us move to the next area of helping the child grow. And this is called family values keep me safe. The best way to talk about this is to actually talk about it through a story. I have a friend called Martin, and one day he went to collect his daughter Chantal from the school, and Chantal looked very upset. So when they got in the car, Martin asked Chantal, "Are you okay, Chantal?" And she said, "Dad, I'm very upset. 2 weeks ago, all my best friends had a party and they did not invite me." And Martin at that stage kept quiet. "They did not invite me because of you. They felt that I should not be invited because you would not approve of this party." On hearing this, Martin said, "So tell me a little bit about the party." And Chantal kept quiet. So Martin said, "Is this a type of party where alcohol would be available to all the people who attended the party?" And Chantal says, "Yes, Dad." Then Martin asked, "Is this a sort of party where people who are enjoying the party, have access to substances so that this can enhance their enjoyment? And Chantal said, yes, Dad. And the last question he asked her was, is this a sort of party where people who disappear into rooms to get close to each other? And Chantal says, yes, Dad. And then he asked, and you would like to go to this party? And Chantal said, no, Dad. So Martin said, why not? Chantal said, because it's against our family rules. So Martin said, do you want to change the family rules? And Chantal said, no, Dad, because I was present at family meetings where we created these rules, and I know they keep me safe. I don't like the rules, but it makes me different from all the other girls. But they are good rules, and I would like to keep them. Now, as parents, how many of you would like your children to actually use family values to make decisions about their life? Type yes in the chat box if that is what you would like. This is an extra bit that I wanted to talk about, which I didn't include in the list of things that parents could be doing to help the children. But this is a very, very useful thing to discuss as part of parenting. In this section, we're going to talk about how your talents become your asset. Talent can actually give you lifelong success. Now, let us talk about your child's talents. There is a famous story about Gillian Lynn. When she was young, her school called her mom and said, we can't have her in our school because she's too disruptive and undermines everybody's learning. So on hearing this, the mom was very upset and felt she had to do something to help Gillian. So she took Gillian to an assessor who tested Gillian out. Once he has tested her, he said to the mom, can I talk to you outside? So he left Gillian in the room, put on the radio to keep her entertained, and the assessor and the mother left the room. And they were watching Gillian from the window. What they saw was Gillian was dancing to a song on the video and doing it very passionately. And on observing this, the assessor said to her mother, Gillian is a dancer, not an average student. So her mother put her in a dance school. On joining the dance school, Gillian was very, very happy. Gillian says this is the best decision her mother ever made because she totally fitted into the dance school. She did so well that she won awards and qualified with the highest score. She was noticed by Andrew Lloyd Webber, and with him, she created all the choreography for his musicals such as Phantom of the Opera and Cats. These shows are still running on the Broadway and the West End today. For years and years and years, they've been running. This story tells you a lot about how parents can help their children identify their talents, nurture them, and help them to become the best they can be. If Gillian had stayed in the school that she originally was in, she would have become disruptive and she would have probably got expelled and dropped out of school. If you look at the story of Swami Vivekananda or Einstein or Thomas Alva Edison, you will notice the same pattern of nurturing the child to be their best, in spite of all the circumstances surrounding them. How many of you want to identify your child's talents and help them become the best they can be? Please type yes in the chat box. Thank you for that. So far, I've talked to you about how you can change your parenting around and help your children. Now let's go a little bit more into how do you empower your children using your parenting style. And the easiest way to describe this is to look at a diagram like this. So you can see you start out as a parent and You engage your child in 3 key processes. You connect with them to help them stabilize, and then learn to start taking responsibility. You help them to become a guide by being their compass. And in the process, you help them become independent, you help them become confident, and you help them develop a value base, which we can call family value base, which helps them make decisions in their life. And the last thing you can do is you develop their competence. So they become an A student. They can identify their talents and you can help them nurture it. And eventually they become a leader in their own field. Now, this process can be used for a child, even if they've got a diagnosed condition. In fact, in some instances like ADHD and so on, which is diagnosed condition, the child does very well if you follow this process. This process can also be applied to teenagers because while they are growing up during the teen years, they go through a lot of ups and downs, which require guidance and support from parents. If you put this in a diagram form, then this is what it looks like, that you are helping the child by getting connected with them. And during this phase, you are engaging the children and helping them manage their challenging behavior by working in the face zone and helping them manage to become more and more responsible. As the child becomes older, you can help the children by helping them become independent, self-directing, and effective decision makers. And finally, you can help the children become an A student, unleash their talent, and become an emerging leader. I have put this in a one-page diagram so you can see all these processes and what parenting can actually do for your child by starting out, at this stage, either as a child or as a teenager, or as a child with diagnosed condition, getting motivational communication to help them transform their challenging behavior, help them work through all their toxic habits, become responsible, become confident, use family values to help them make decisions about their life, become an A student, unleash their latent talent, and become an emerging leader in their own field. When all of these things are working well, you can say your child is an empowered child. When parents can do this, they become the top 1% of successful parents. Now, let me talk a little bit about results. The results for parents who have followed the parenting process have been fantastic. I'll give you one example. One of the parents who has got 2 children of his own and 1 foster child says that all of his children are now qualified to a degree level and leaders in their own careers. One is a successful manager in a multinational pharmacy chain. One is the director of a community sports center, training athletes to compete at the Olympics level. And the last one is doing her degree. Another parent that I worked with was worried that her child was going to be kicked off the transport bus, taking him to school because of his behavior issues. I worked with her to put a package in place to help him settle. And today, the bus driver loves him to be on her bus. I can carry on like this because I've got plenty of results to report. In the interest of time, let me ask you one last question. And this question is, if I were to ask you today, what job do you think your child will be doing when they grow up? 90% of you will get the answer wrong. This is because the world is moving so fast today that the jobs our children will do have not even been created yet. These jobs will emerge as the economy grows, new technology grows, and it will be led by people who have got a lot of talent. So we are not preparing a child for a job. We are preparing our children for the new world that is emerging, where one can become an active participant and shape their future. So at this point, I would like to say you have three options. Option number one is you do nothing, you carry on, bring up your children as you are doing. And in the process, you can take your chances in the world. Your child will grow and will take their own chances as well. So one question that emerges here is, how expensive would it be if they miss out on job opportunities? And what impact will it have on their earning, their family, and their own children? So doing nothing can actually be quite expensive in the long run. On the other hand, you may decide, I know the processes now, so I will do everything by myself. You know the parenting journey and the ideas that you can use to help your children. Now, you may learn this from different sources like books and videos. The only problem with this approach, DIY, is that by the time you've learned how to implement it effectively, your children may be grown up, and your child only grows up once. And the last option you have is you can call me. And what I'd like you to do is leave a message on the WhatsApp group that you joined so that I can arrange to talk to you. In the chat that we have, we will talk about where is your child now, where would you like him to be, and if there is a parenting process that we can put in place, which will enhance and speed up the development of your child. Based on this, if I can help you develop a package that will empower your child, then I'll work with you and give you access to a number of resources. I'll give you access to online courses, masterclasses, workbooks, and we will also do one-to-one sessions where I can answer your questions. This will develop your skills so you can become a great guide for your child. So I'm going to close this session by saying that if you like, please leave a message for me in the WhatsApp group. Thank you for listening, and I will meet you again on another one of our sessions. Bye for now, and see you for next time.